Matt Underwood, Rick Manning. We're happy to be joined now in the booth by Larry Doby Jr., who is on hand with his family today for the unveiling of the statue that will immortalize his father for generations to come here at Progressive Field. You were here several years ago when they renamed Eagle Avenue Larry Doby Way. How did today compare?
It's very similar emotions, just I guess a lot more of them. You know, I mean, it's a statue that'll stand for a long, long time, and they saw fit to erect it, and we are very proud and happy, and just a very warm feeling.
Yeah, something very special. I think he deserved one here for many years because of what he went through. Was something very special. And I mean, you were talking about it today in your speech out there. Any great stories that your dad ever told you about baseball? And I'm sure he has, and I'm sure you have a number.
Rick, he was very tight-lipped, but as he got older, his lips got a little bit looser. And he, so he told me a few things. One thing I remember is he said that he loved when Early Wynn pitched. And I said, why, Dad? He said, because I didn't have to worry about anybody throwing at me, because if they threw at me, he was going to throw at two of theirs.
Yeah, a little protection there.
Yeah, so
that's
he
right.
Said when Early Wynn was on the mound, he went up to that plate just looking for the baseball and not thinking about anything else.
Abreu chops one to third. Giovanni Urshela throws him out, one down. Some of the ceremony from earlier this afternoon, I can't imagine the feeling you must have had. I mean, you grew up with the man, so he's your father.
Yes.
For hundreds of thousands of Indians fans, he was a player that many of them idolized. But when they pull down the sheet, what goes through your mind when you see your dad in statue form?
Well, again, it's an overwhelming feeling, but I also know that he didn't do it by himself, and that this town has to be commended, because when he told me that story, when he said they never booed me, and I looked at him like he was crazy, but I know he meant it. He felt like he belonged to them, and that whether he struck out 3 times or hit a home run, they always had his back. And I think that was something that he never forgot, and that's why whenever he came here, whenever he spoke about Cleveland, there were always great memories and warm memories. So, it's just, unfortunately, a lot of people won't get the credit, but he gets most of it, but he got a lot of help.
You never had a chance to see him play, did you? That's unfortunate, too.
No.
I mean, when I first came up, my first big league spring training, I had the opportunity. He was coaching here.
Yeah.
And as an outfield coach, and then I was just moving to the outfield, had a chance to meet him then. Right. And then he ended up going over to Chicago and then managed the White Sox in 1978.
Yes.
And you even played for the White Sox.
Yeah.
You were drafted
in
the late 70s and early 80s, and you had an opportunity to play over there. So he was, for everything I know, and we had him at a fantasy camp before. I loved him, and we were talking with Buddy Bell earlier.
Oh,
and I know
that was
you
one
know
of his
Buddy.
favorites.
Yeah. And Buddy had a lot of great things to say.
Yep. Yeah, it was good to see Buddy. Hadn't seen him in a long time.
Larry, the last time you were with us, you made a point to say that you talked to Michael Brantley because you said he's the son of a big leaguer who got to the big leagues.
Yes.
How daunting was it for you to be Larry Doby Jr.?
Well, when you're little, people are saying things and, come on, you got to do it, or you're not as good as your dad. But when you're young, you don't really realize what it is. When you get a little older, you do. And sometimes it makes you press a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's all part of it. I wouldn't have had anybody else, wouldn't have wanted anybody else for a dad. I'm very proud of all his accomplishments. The fact that I couldn't follow in his footsteps disappoints me, but it didn't disappoint him. So, as a father, you're going to love your children no matter what they do. Hopefully they turn out to be good kids and good citizens. And, that's what I try to do. It disappointed me more not making it than it did him, I think.
But the thing of it is, the expectations were poured upon you because you were Larry Doby Jr., and that's the toughest thing about it.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's just the nature of the game.
But you deal with it. That's a hand you were dealt, and you go out and you play your hand.
Exactly.
Did he ever share with you the difficulties that he went through and some of the things that he had to deal with in being a guy who paved the way for many generations to come?
He didn't talk about it a lot, but what he did say was that he was pretty sure that if Jackie Robinson and him didn't succeed, it would have been a long time before they let more people in. So I think, they win the World Series. He hits a home run. He makes the All-Star game. He does this, that, and makes the Hall of Fame. But I think what he was most proud of was that you know, because of his efforts, it opened the doors for a lot of people to come after him.
Boy, did it ever.
Yeah. So I think that's what he was most happy about. And, you know, when they weren't staying in the same hotels and they weren't eating at the same restaurants, yeah, that might have bothered him, but they were still the best African-American hotels or the best African-American restaurants. So they were treated good. And that's really the only time that he felt that separation, because when they're on the field, they all had a common goal. They played, you know, to win, and they all were trying to do the same thing. So, you know, he didn't really feel it on the field.
Yeah, it's amazing if some young people would go back and look at the days of what it was like and do the research and the history of the game. He paved it in the American League, the very first one in the American League.
Yeah.
And although he was the second one in baseball, same as far as becoming an African-American manager, because Frank Robinson was number one here, and he went over to Chicago next.
Yeah.
But he still paved the way for a lot of people.
Yeah. You know, I just think he was kind of accepted his role in history. He knew he was number two. He wasn't going to get as much, you know, notoriety, but he was proud of what he did and his position, and that he helped open the door for other people.
And a very humble man, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said before that he was fine with his place in history.
Yeah.
He was at peace with it.
Yeah.
And you made a mention today. I thought it was very poignant. You said Buzz Aldrin is from our hometown.
Which was funny when Mr. Dolan was telling that story. I'm like, well, we know because, you know, he grew up there. But, yeah, that was kind of funny that two number twos in the same town.
Yeah, everybody knows Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets Buzz Aldrin was right behind him on the ladder.
Exactly.
You still enjoy the game?
Yeah, it's, you know, for my money, it's the greatest game ever. You know, you can be 6'8" or 5'8".
True.
You know, you can speak English or not speak any English. You know, so yeah, it's still the best game, I think. It's our national pastime, and I'm proud that my dad had something to do with making it All-American.
Well, we're proud to have you with us here tonight. Thanks so much for stopping by.
My pleasure.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Nice
Larry Doby
Larry.
Jr. with
Thanks,
us here
good
tonight.
seeing you.